Hi, and welcome to another episode of Chaotic Harmony, episode 151. I'm going to be your host today, Marc Keehmer. A little bit of change from our typical episodes because all of the current teachers are away, but I am joined here by two magnificent district folks that I will allow them to introduce themselves. So, Sabrina, we'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Skeels. I am a VAPA coordinator, so Visual Performing Arts Coordinator, pseudo administrator. We just call ourselves coordinators at the district office. And I'm in Orange County, specifically Saddleback Valley Unified in Mission Viejo. So nice to be here.
My name is Chamberlain. I'm the Visual and Performing Arts Specialist for Poway Unified. And this is our first time Sabrina and I meeting each other. So we're super excited to hang out and talk shop a bit with you, Marc.
I love it. Now, the first thing I have to ask before we jump into all of the things, what is your opinion on paper cutters, like the really big choppy things? Because
give me all of them.
I have lots of feelings about them, but Sabrina, you said give me all of them. Tell me more.
Yes. The sliding sort of paper cutters they have now just don't do the trick. And I'm a former art teacher, so I need the sharpness of a blade in order to get that clean, fine line. So, yes.
Okay. Hans, what about you?
It's a precise tool, gets the aggression out. I'm all for it, 100%. And it's just nice, doing a repeatable task. It's comforting, calming. I'm into it. I'm here for it.
Okay, so Sabrina, I do have a question. As an art teacher, how do you cut a straight line? Because I can't tell you how many times I've gone to cut something and it's like I line it up and like I look at all the little boxes and and then it's just and it's the worst.
So it's all about the capacity of the stack. If you have too many papers in there, I would say things slightly shift, and that's what's going to throw off your line. I like efficiency. I like efficiency, and I like to get it all done in one, but I have found if I need precision, I have to be very patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I lack when it comes to paper cutting because I just want it done. Okay, well, thanks for going on that little adventure for me. But with that said, this is Chaotic Harmony, not paper cutting harmony. Although we could maybe do some ASMR paper cutting stuff. Put that on the Patreon. But this is the podcast where we talk about the joys, struggles, and all things adjacent to elementary music. Last week, we had a conversation with John, Jamie, and myself about do art teachers, or do we still create art? Do we still participate in that? That was episode 150. If you haven't heard it yet, you should go back and listen to it. We had a lovely conversation. Now, this week, we are focusing on the all things adjacent to elementary music, because we are no longer teachers in a classroom. You are VAPA folks. You are VAPA administrators or pseudo administrator, as Sabrina said, but I mean still administrator nonetheless. So just kind of for our listeners who may not know, what does a VAPA coordinator actually do?
It's a great question. I think everything, right, Hans?
Just a simple softball, just to start us off.
Yeah, no, I think every day is dynamic. It's interesting in my district because I'm K-12, so I oversee elementary itinerants, primarily teachers that just go out to multiple school sites and offer weekly instruction in a variety of different art disciplines. Predominantly here in Saddleback, we have music and visual art for our elementary schools. So, you're kind of the principal of those people on those sites. But then for secondary, you're kind of just sitting adjacent with site administration and you work with them on like curriculum and instruction and just the stuff that happens in the back end, the organizational process. I think that really impacts student learning in the classroom, but it's not necessarily a principal that oversees that particular teacher, at least in my role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that mine is the same. My district is also a K through 12, though my position is more focused on secondary, so middle and high school. And I do work with another staff member who's more focused on the elementary, the K through, in our district is a K through 5. We basically do a lot of the behind the scenes work. I am our district recently completed a strategic arts plan, and so that's a large part of my position is working to implement that plan and bringing departments together, bringing schools together to accomplish those goals, and just all of the other stuff, procurements. I know we had a grant that we were utilizing for musical instruments, quite a bit of money and quite a bit of instruments, and that's one thing. Just procurement. I'm sure we'll probably get to it, but one thing you don't quite know as a music teacher versus being at a district office, money takes time. Spending money takes time. Getting money takes time. Everything takes time and a lot of work, and a lot of the right people working together, and that can be a challenge. So having that VAPA perspective is crucial at the district office.
We will get to that, so don't jump too far ahead. But I'm curious for my sake, because when I was in the role, it was me and then the other coordinators of the other. Oh my gosh, I want to say instructions of the other subjects. So we had like math and science and ELA and all this stuff. But I was VAPA, like it was just me. For you all on your teams, Hans, you kind of already answered this. You said that you have an elementary person focused, but Sabrina, is it just you? Do you have a team? Do you kind of just work with the instructional team? Like, how does that kind of set up? Because I feel like that makes a huge difference whether or not you have like a VAPA director and someone kind of leading that charge, or is that kind of you? How does that work for you guys?
It's interesting. So I do have other coordinators that I work with that oversee different content areas. And the elementary side, they have coordinators for humanities. They have coordinators for STEM, same as secondary humanities and STEM. And for me, I'm largely like most VAPA coordinators where you oversee all the VAPA disciplines. So it's visual arts, it's music, it's dance, it's theater, and it's media arts now, since we added that fifth branch so lovingly. So I get to embrace them all. And I think it's interesting because I have a duality of my role where elementary kind of meets and does their thing, and they coordinate their plans specifically for like professional developments and staff development days. And secondary also kind of meets and does their work too. And I get to be in both houses and pull everything together as a K-12 group. And I think the thing that's really interesting in being in a K-12 district, which I love, is we get to be very intentional about how we build articulation across those disciplines from the elementary to the high school level, more so than maybe if you're a Union High School district or if you're just a K-8 district, then you have multiple districts you have to kind of coordinate with and different touch points that you have to establish. So yeah, I think, it can get overwhelming, especially on a Monday. I have many meetings
That's why we're
that
not
I
on Monday.
balance.
We're on a Wednesday, but
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
And it's been actually a blessing because I started in the district actually as a TOSA for VAPA. They hadn't had a prior position for a teacher on special assignment for this role, I think, ever. And I transitioned into coordinator probably about 2 years in. And I had to largely take on the TOSA work as well as the coordinator work when I stepped into that role for the first year, which was very overwhelming. But thankfully, with other funding that was available and just really pushing core initiatives, I was able to have the blessing of bringing on an instructional coach. Yeah. So for the last 2 years, she was on one of your episodes, but Athena Reyes is our instructional coach.
Yeah.
And she's been doing great work to just help build that alignment of systems that we still need at the K-6 level, but she's only K-6. So at least it's a little bit of progress to develop some sort of system and process.
I love that. Yes. Anything for you?
Yeah, and I'm a part of the Learning Support Services department. So as far as the staff in that department, the same admin help is the same that's for me as well, but I don't have any VAPA specific staff or VAPA specific support. So it is up to me to kind of just lead that charge. I did start this position in July, so I have not as many, not as much time under my belt for that specific position. And I'm right now it's making sure I'm making positive relationships with everybody and getting a sense of those sites and the programs. And we've just kind of in January started to turn the corner more with my supervisor and start setting the vision for next year and what we're trying to accomplish. So, professional development has there's a pretty cool professional development style in our district. We have something called TLC, which is teaching and learning. Was it community? Hold on, I wrote it down. Cooperative.
It's a great band.
Yeah, TLC. Yeah, they start each session with a song that
As
they
they
all
should. Yeah, that's great.
Waterfalls.
Yes.
Just all the hits.
Yep. Just don't go chasing them.
No scrubs.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
That's actually the district motto is don't go chasing waterfalls. No, that makes sense. I love it.
We don't want no scrubs.
I love it. But
yeah.
it's a pretty cool model in that a teacher or an administrator can create a TLC, and it's kind of a self-guided or group-guided professional development that's specific to a topic. And then those are accumulated into points, and that's based on a salary schedule as well. So it's pretty cool. I've been working on one for the book. I know you're familiar with it, Mark, but Your Brain on Arts. I have one that's going to be starting for summer reading and summer committee getting together to discuss those things. So we have that. And then next year, I'm planning on, I've secured funding to create kind of a VAPA committee of teachers so that we'll be able to start developing a professional development plan and finding ways to just put a spotlight on the cool things that our district is doing and find ways to connect with the community as an extension of our strategic arts plan.
Let's jump into PD really quick. So Hans, you had mentioned that there are TLCs within that. Does it have to be attached to a bigger or like another thing, or could we have a TLC on TLC? Just exploring the music of TLC. That's what we do, and then that's how we get the points for that. Or what is it? What does it have to attach to?
There's a whole system of directors and other administrators that approve. So if you want to create a TLC, it has to go through. It has to be vetted, and it has to have shown how it's going to impact the classroom in a positive way. And then it's given basically a point score on how many hours and the type of implementation, and then that equals a certain amount of points. So it's not quite where you're left up to your own to make it work. It has to be vetted and go through that process.
And so, outside of the TLC that you are you have around the book, do you offer any professional development for teachers within your district, or does the individual who is kind of more overseeing the elementary, do they offer any professional development for teachers?
Yeah, so for elementary, some of that is built in on some of those days. For secondary, we are looking at plans to find ways to get some of those people in the same room. So I think there's room for growth there. We also do have a late start Wednesday, and so that's an idea as well to pull teachers during that time. But as of right now, there isn't a structure for getting that group all together. But that's something we're looking for next year.
Sure. Sabrina, what about you? How does PD run in Saddleback?
So we have the opportunity of having PLCs, basically. We have professional learning communities on a weekly basis. And the only thing is it's organized at different times, which doesn't aid us in having, collaborative conversations across the gamut, like that vertical articulation I talked about. But we do at least have our visual art teachers at the elementary level, they PLC once a week on Wednesdays. Our elementary music teachers, they PLC once a week every Friday. And then for intermediates, they can PLC on Monday afternoons. High schools PLC on Monday mornings. And it's all just based off of their school site schedules and just kind of what we negotiated contract-wise. But they've at least been able to not be silos. I mean, like being in a secondary classroom, like you don't ever really collaborate with others. You have your VAPA department, but you all teach different disciplines. So it's given them at least a space where they can get on a Zoom call or get on like maybe a conference call and meet together, even if they're not physically present, to talk about what they're teaching in their classrooms and, at least kind of compare across the table.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily professional development time though, but at least it's intentional time for them to have kind of a thought partner in the work that they're doing. And outside of that, the years that I've been here, we've at least been able to provide release days. So we've been able to get our intermediate and high school teachers together across those content areas twice a year. To have a full day where they talk about vertical articulation, they look at their scope and sequence that they're developing. We look at core district initiatives and how that impacts our classrooms and our content areas. And I also get opportunities to just honestly plan with them. Like we do festivals. I could not do my job without having their expertise and having that dedicated time for them to help me unpack elements that they need me to work on the back end. Getting coaches for a summer music camp or talking about bringing in clinicians for a district festival, or even just going down to like, who's going to do the program that we have to print. Those are all things that you have to be intentional about coordinating, and then having people that might have flexibility to delegate some of the work. So those have been critical times. I mean, we even put together a theater workshops day based off of those meetings that we had. It was just an idea of one of our theater teachers, and now we have high school students that teach our intermediate school students elements of theater in a workshop format once a year, and we bring them all together in intermediate school. So that's been very helpful, and even so, it doesn't provide them, I think, the level of specificity that they need for classroom instruction. So we also try to target available monies to send them to conferences or to give them training opportunities in our local areas. For me, I always have my district, have my elementary music staff registered for ORF.
Yeah.
So we have a district membership for ORF. And then we also just recently started adding on a CADI membership.
Oh, cool.
I believe the Southern California CADI Association also has partnered with ORF more recently for a lot of their chapter meetings and their workshops. But even so, like we've at least been able to meet those pedagogical approaches, the differences that our staff can have. And we also this year, we had some available monies in our budget to sign all of them up for the Midwest Clinic online resources. So they have kind of that PD, because that is a very expensive PD, I will say.
Okay. That's awesome. That sounds so robust. And can I come work in your district and be a teacher? Like if I ever come back to California, just saying.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We might actually have a position that just got posted today. I have a vacancy I can fill. Yeah.
Okay. We'll
you get your
negotiate
special
off air.
T-shirts. You get your special T-shirts.
I just wear black T-shirts and cardigans mostly. But that sounds so fun. Professional development and PD was always the bane of my existence in my job. And John, I apologize that it's not as good as Saddleback. And for those who are wondering why am I saying apologies to John, John is producing our episode. So he's here listening and go ahead.
I do want to say, I did not give him credit. I did have a year where I was able to bring in professional experts, and I had Mr. Jonathan Seligman present to my staff too. And that was one that they still talk about, and Natasha Thurman. That was an incredible experience for them.
And it's the reason why Athena and Brittany came down to see us. You guys have a great team. I just want to say that I'll now hide myself.
I love all the people I get to work with.
Yeah.
They're such diverse personalities, but I think like when you can bring everybody together for the betterment of students, it gives you just so much more to work with and balance.
Yeah.
It's great.
Natasha's incredible. She was our recorder instructor. And I remember in level 3, Hans and I did level 3 together. And so we had to find little groups to play it. And so Hans and I did a duet. And our band name was Mark Hans Mark. So It was a good time. The hands played a lot better at the recorder than I did. It was pretty terrible.
That's not true.
But
That's not true.
Okay, so now PD's hard. And I think as a teacher, like I would always wonder, like, well, it like what could you possibly be doing that like you can't give us all the attention in the world? Like we're your people. So like why isn't PD always like this magnificent thing? And like my question is, for you, moving to the district office, what was one of the biggest lessons that you've learned of like, oh, it's a lot different than I was perceiving or I had assumed that the district office job when you were still in the classroom?
I think for me, it was perspective building. I think when I was in the classroom, I had very specific opinions on what should be done and why. And the reason as to why things were negatively impacting me, and what I would do differently to try to better address my needs if I were in that role. But I think stepping out of it now, I don't know if it makes total sense, but you're just a cog in a system. You know, there's there's depths and layers of approval, but there's also just initiatives that everybody wants to align to and address. There's a vision for a district. And I think tailoring what you are providing that meets that vision is very crucial. And maybe not even tailoring, but just kind of illustrating what you provide that still connects to that is really important. And it wasn't something that I even thought was a consideration. When I was in the classroom, I would literally like, they just need to give me extra money and I just need to tell that person to give me extra cash. So I wouldn't have to go to a PTO and do a dine out night in order to afford glaze for a class, you know? I think, though, it's not that simple. You know, every funding source has different contingencies to it. Even when you're talking about LCAP, there's so many different layers that go into that process in order for you to, you know, align your funding to the goals and initiatives and the community feedback that you receive. So that has been an eye-opening perspective for me, and that's a part of the conversations, the thoughtful conversations I really try to have with teachers anytime they ask me about budget, why things are shifting, you know, why we're doing what we're doing. I try to at least be very diplomatic in giving them a little nugget of that experience I feel like I've had. And I think a lot of people understand, but I think also they just know what they need in order to meet the needs of their kids. So there's still a small percentage that has trouble with some of that, but I think that that's been really eye-opening for me.
Yeah, I echo all that. I think going from teaching to admin, I feel like as a teacher, you might feel like your hands are tied, but you do have a lot of autonomy. If you feel like you are doing something and it's not working, you can change it. You can try something new tomorrow. You know, you can adjust and keep going. I feel like when you decide something or you are a part of a decision from a district office, it has to be very thoughtful and it has to directly connect to the vision. It has to be uniform. And Sabrina, I really like what you said, how you have to connect your work to that overarching vision. I think just like as a teacher, you have to show how your work is contributing to the school culture. Like picture that district wide, you know, you have to ensure that VAPA as a whole is a strong piece of the vision moving forward. That takes time and planning.
Yeah. And that takes so much relationship building, right? Is because now you have to build so many more relationships at the district office because you're not only, yes, being a teacher, you are trying to build a relationship with lots of students. Absolutely. And now that shift has to change where you are now building relationships with the teachers, building relationships with the principals. It's great if you have a relationship with the front desk individuals, with front desk people. And then now everyone at the district office. And like there's so many moving parts to it and so many different people who actually make it run. And I think Sabrina, you hit it absolutely right on the head. Like it is a large, it's a system, and you're a cog in it, and like you want to be the center. At least I wanted to be like, well, the arts are so important, and like everyone has to love the arts and the arts and the arts and the arts. And the thing that I would run around with my coworkers and is like the phrase was more VAPA. Like we just need more VAPA everywhere we go. Hashtag more VAPA. Let's do it. And it's hard to do that because everyone has their thoughts on what a good district should look like or what a good district wants. And
Mhm.
those test scores, they don't show VAPA on it, you know? Like it is that
Yeah.
is so frustrating. And they're like, oh my gosh, one of my most frustrating things that would happen is I would get called in and I would be told that a teacher did a knucklehead thing or like they weren't doing anything. And now like I felt like I had to then stand like protect the entire program. It's like, yes, one person did this thing that isn't ideal. Maybe they were doing a direct to draw. Maybe they were having the kids just hit a bunch of drums and not really doing anything productive. But like that's not VAPA. Like that's not the entirety of the program. And I think that that's a lot easier to have those conversations when you have those relationships. So my question for you is how do you build the trust and relationships with the teachers among all the schools and with the district folks and with the principals? Like, do you have have you thought of a plan? Doesn't seem the right word, but like, have you thought about how you're going to tackle that? Enhance, if it's okay to start with
Yeah.
you because you're doing
Yeah.
that right now.
Right. Yeah, 'cause exactly. That's a big part of the job right now is making sure I build those positive relationships. And I think at my core, I have to care, like seriously care deeply about all of the VAPA programs. And at the same time, know that everyone else does as well. So when I am talking to a teacher, like we've all been there, like teachers are very passionate and protective of their programs. And sometimes that can come across a certain way. You know, sometimes advocacy, it can, certain types of advocacy can be off putting to others. And so I think I always try to look at where is that passion coming from? That passion is coming from care and defense of their program. So being able to know that foundationally, I'm in their camp, right? And then also the district side. I don't think any district member is out there to try to just shut down all VAPA. No, I think honestly at our core, we do believe that we are teaching the whole child, that all education is helpful and valuable, that subjects are all matter. So I think giving people the benefit of the doubt just helps me center myself and not get super defensive or have it's not like a quick response. Like I want to assume positive intent and then ask for clarification and try to nudge in the correct way that moves us in a step forward together.
That's very well said. I think I fully agree. I don't know if I have it down to a science. You can ask folks that I work with, but I think I mean, we all have room for improvement, right? Like we just do what we can and we try to do the best that we can do while we're doing it. So for me, I've just found that like I've always valued relationships. They talk about relationships preceding learning with students. I think it's kind of the same with staff. They need to be able to have a safe space and trust that what they tell you is with confidentiality, I think. And, maybe sometimes people just need to vent also as well, being able to name that. And what I've tried to model is providing the safe space for individuals, being confidential as much as I can be in my role. It was a lot easier when I was a TOSA than it is as a coordinator and administrator. But I can also still be a mentor and a coach through that process. And that's where I try to steer conversations or steer concerns. And I did like leadership academies. I've done like leadership coaching recently, and they'd have you do like the value assessment and the strength finder. And every time what always comes up for me is the relationships, because when I was a teacher, that was what I always loved and provided. I had a content I delivered, but I wanted to know you and connect with you as a person and know that at any point in your life, you're going to come back and still reflect fondly on this learning opportunity and find yourself to be a creative entity in wherever you go. And I want to work with teachers the same way in helping them address their needs, but also knowing that they don't have to, think that my motivations are false. I think that if we give people the time and the space to just sound off, then it creates an opportunity for us to also coach them and mentor them, because they know that we're all working on this together.
Love that. How are you?
I like that. Oh, sorry if I could just,
Please.
I agree. Being a supportive listener and then listening to build that and then have the ability to provide some context and hopefully empathy for both sides of an issue, and provide that context, that district context for teachers is helpful. Yeah, I really like that.
Well, I also think it applies to district leadership. I mean, we're talking primarily about teachers here, or maybe colleagues we work with in other departments that have impact on our programs. But I've started to really kind of unpack how that works at a higher level. In my position, I don't sit in cabinet discussions. I'm not at that point of making decisions as middle management, but I can still take what we have as a concern and get down to the root issue, maybe kind of decipher that a bit and bring that up, confidentially or candidly to our leadership to try to impart change. But also, if I've built a relationship with them, them knowing my intent, they can also trust that whatever I am bringing an issue to them, it really is a big cause for concern.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like the thing that I I felt like a broken record, and I still feel like a broken record anytime I talk about my previous job. But one of the things that I had noticed coming in, so I took over when we were coming back from COVID, so in 2021, and so that was everyone was coming back, and I remember during those years, my pitch to everybody was like, hey, like the arts are no longer the sexy new program, and so we have to build to sustain. And my approach to that was like, you have to build relationships with the people that you work with, because when things get hard, like it's your job that's going to be cut, because if you're funded by this external funding, that they have control over what that's going to look like, unfortunately, especially at the site level, because some sites would use site funds to fund certain positions and whatnot. And like, golly geez, that's hard. And that's hard to navigate the relationships portion, because hence I love what you said. Like everyone has such big feelings on their programs. Like they are so passionate about it, and I love that. And trying to corral that passion the correct way to benefit the greater good can sometimes be hard. Yeah, middle management's no fun. It is fun, but it's not fun. It's like people. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say too. I think another thing that, just in my personal perspective and where I'm at, what has benefited me is also being a member of the community in which my role lies. And it was always a dream of mine to work in the district that my children are in, to feel like I have a duality for the role. But I did spend time as a community member. I was on the PTA when I was working in another district, and I might have chaired an arts program that shall be remained nameless. But I know through those experiences, I got to meet certain people that when I stepped into the district in a role, they understood who I was and what I wanted to do already from just being, a friend and a fellow parent advocate. And even today, I had a meeting with some parents, and a few people in the room are like, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so. And that has been a great benefit, I think, for just some of the work we're doing in our strategic arts plan, because we have one as well. when we have developed the community partnership, and you also have just skin in the game for what you're doing in your community.
Yeah, I'll completely agree. I think any way you can envelop yourself in the community is key. Just recently, I joined the Poway Onstage board, and so I don't know if you remember Poway Onstage, but they offer the virtual field trips. I know I used a couple of those as a music teacher too, so it's really cool to come full circle. But that's a pretty big partnership that our district has, and so. I think we end up just meeting the people that are the fabric of the community and being there. I also say, I'm going to maybe 1, 2, or 3 performances just that are happening in our district, and there's a lot that goes on in our district. It's a very high performing, especially instrumental district, and I'm out there. The teachers know that I'm there, that I care about their program, and that I care enough to stay till the end and truly listen, not the drive by.
That is a good point, because that's another thing that they don't talk about as a VAPA coordinator. I have content area colleagues that they can do that 8 to 5, maybe 9 to 5, and be good, but there are a lot of evening events. And when you want to build relationships with folks, you want to support that as much as possible. So
Yes.
I've spent time, like the first couple of years, putting the office stuff aside so I can be present in classrooms. I can go out and be at events, and then also trying to spend late night hours to get stuff done. That's hard to sustain, but I think I've gotten to the point where I can find a flow now to make both work.
Yep.
But there is a lot of free time you want to dedicate, but you also want to show that you support, and you have to be willing to bring the kids along. I've done that many times too.
My kid's an absolute monster. She's the best, but she's a monster. I took her to one of the schools put on Addams Family, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
No, it was Matilda. I don't remember.
Oh,
I think it was
nice.
Matilda. Yes. And she just was not having it. And so like halfway through, she was at the point where like dad mode was kicked in. And I was like, I am about to just like, "Rah." And so we left at intermission, and I felt so bad. And like, but she couldn't hang. And they were so kind. Like they gave us seats right in front. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the worst seat for me to have. Cause I think she was then 5. Like my 5-year-old was just an absolute monster. And so I went and said like, I'm so sorry and whatnot. But like, yeah, trying to be an active parent and be an active administrator is challenging. Like that's no joke.
But that brings a human element into it, though. I felt like, my kids were 5 and 7, I think, when we started doing some of this too. And I've had plenty of meltdown. I remember vividly, don't get those light up shoes when it's a dark facility. We were in the middle of a theater production. I think it was Shrek. He had to go to the bathroom. And what did we had to do? I had to parade him down the steps all around in the darkness with the little light up turtle shoes that are going like crazy.
Were they at least green?
At the same time, yes.
Okay.
I think it was the Ninja Turtle light up shoes.
Okay.
So, but it also builds like a human element, because then, talking afterwards, so sorry. Well, they had kids of a similar age too, and we were able to connect and kind of talk shop about it. So, I feel like those instances have brought a little bit more humility to my role in building a relationship with them.
Last question I have. This, I feel like we could talk forever, but I'll save John the headache of editing so much. What do you wish that the classroom arts teacher better understood about the district? And what do you wish the district leaders would better understand about the arts classrooms?
Thinking time.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I'm in no rush.
I'm going to start on the second half of that question. I think I wish that district office knew how isolating a visual and performing arts teacher position can feel. also, I want them to see the value, let's say, an elementary school music or art teacher. You have a sense of the school that no one else has on campus. You see every student and you have a relationship with every teacher in a lot of ways like a principal does. And I think that school sites and district offices would benefit from that perspective more at that capacity of really getting a sense of the community of a school. I think teachers have it as well, but it is like they pour so much love and heart into those, 30 kids or however many kids they have in their home classroom. But as a VAPA teacher, it's a very different type of position than any other position on campus. So I think valuing, more support for that type of role, the value of putting those teachers together, or especially like discipline. Because I also, I want to backtrack real quick. In our district, we do have PLCs as well. They are for secondary, but they are on campus. So it's kind of like what you described, Sabrina. I think the VAPA teachers might get to work together, but it's interdisciplinary. So that's what I think I'd want to see, is just the value in getting those people together and getting subject matter experts, to them and those type of resources.
I think it's the same for both. I don't know. I would have to unpack this a bit more, but I feel like there's a lot of, on both sides, there's a lot of assuming of what the intent is behind what's being illustrated or decided upon, but not the perspective building. Like for me, I always assume positive intent. I think Hans pointed this out, or Hans pointed this out earlier. So it's like, for me, I don't know if everybody else really takes that into process, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people will look at the challenges that they have in their role, and when an issue pops up or a need that they have presents itself, and they don't get what they want or they don't understand it, then automatically there's a lot of finger pointing and blaming that happens, I think, on both sides. So I would like for there to be more perspective building, or people maybe assuming more positive intent, because we're all just trying to do what's best for students, and we all have our own lens. And I think we can try to come to the table and have discussions to try to understand more of that. I think it goes similar, because I think I commented on this when you had like a Instagram post, Jonathan, maybe on the CH classroom, because everybody has their own experiences in education. Like they have their own background. They're going to value what they understand. And so I don't think any of us can go into something having just this assumption built about what the intent is behind it.
Good stuff.
Let me say one more thing. Sorry. I think I just answered the first half, or the second half. One thing some of that perspective building that you were mentioning, Sabrina, I really think that implementation is more important than the thing you're implementing. And I think that's something that I wish teachers could have more perspective about. So the teacher knows their program, but their thought might be, yes, if only I had this gear, or if only I had this money, or if we would just shift this. But, things have to be rolled out and implemented very well in a way that serves students across the board well. And I think that teachers would do well to kind of take a step back and try to look with an overarching eye for what something like that would be rolled out, across the board, rather than just what would fix their classroom or their program.
What about you, Mark? You had experience in this for a hot minute.
I did. I think for me, the thing I wish that teachers understood more is that district folks are people too. And it's so easy to vilify the district when anything goes wrong of just saying the district. Oh, the district doesn't care about students. And I actually was having a conversation with a teacher and a close friend. And I said, can I pause and just challenge you? If you insert anyone's name at the district that you know, does that sentence still ring true? So like Mark doesn't care about students. They're like, do you really like, is that really true? Or are you just, you're angry? And he's like, no, that's a good point. And so I think the ways or the view that the district has is different because it's supposed to be different. It's not supposed to be the same as a classroom teacher or an arts teacher because you need both in order to run a successful district. So that's what I would probably say is like understanding that a systems that Hansio mentioned this earlier, like trying to spend money or trying to do anything takes forever. And like as soon as a board meeting happens, there's already like the next board meeting is being planned. And so if you miss a deadline, you're screwed. So that definitely happened to me 1 or 2 times. I'm not great with deadlines. And then what do I wish district leaders better understood about the arts classroom is that it's going to look different than a traditional classroom. And it's supposed to look different than a traditional classroom. You don't want all the kids sitting at desks looking or reading or doing all that stuff, receiving some direct instruction, all this. Like it has to be a little bit chaotic and a little bit harmonious. Nailed that. Yeah, so that's kind of what I would say.
I would even piggyback off of that in that it probably nowadays looks a lot different than what their opinion was or their education was in that discipline before. Because I have a lot of administrators that say to me, I'm not creative. I had this experience. I didn't necessarily do fairly well, so I automatically already knocked it off as abilities that I have. And they sometimes can carry that opinion, I think, into the way that they interact with our teachers and our programs. But that conservatory, high-level professional mindset for preparation, is that really appropriate? That's a whole other podcast.
we talk about that all the time of just this conservatory method or conservatory way of music making. And, I think that there is room for it. Absolutely, there's room for it. And there's room for exploration and play because, music can't always just be super perfect and stuffy all the time. You guys, this was a great conversation. I'm so grateful that you both said yes to talking with me. We are not quite finished with the episode, so we will pick up right after the break.
Hey, we just want to take a quick moment to shout out Mission Trails Financial, the partner making this show possible at no cost to you. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by financial planning, you're not alone. But Mission Trails Financial is here to make things simpler. They offer tailored financial advice for you, from investments to tax and insurance planning, with a team of experienced fee-based advisors who are CFP designated and fiduciaries. That means they're putting your best interests first. Let's face it, navigating the world of finances can feel like drinking from a fire hose with endless options for investments just a mouse click away. But Mission Trails Financial aims to cut through the noise by breaking things down into clear, actionable steps while providing regular updates. Mission Trails Financial believes everyone has the right to work with a financial advisor regardless of how much you've saved. Mission Trails Financial's focus is building a relationship so you are not traveling your financial path alone. They even help you keep track of old 401ks when you're transitioning between jobs, because your financial future should always stay on track, no matter what changes. So don't wait. Let Mission Trails Financial show you how to make that next step towards the future you've worked hard for. Plus, your first consultation is absolutely free. Just visit missiontrailsfinancial.com or call 619-419-0238 today. You'll be glad you did, because leaning on professionals like Mission Trails Financial is how we get ahead. Check out the program notes for more details. Advisory services offered through New Edge Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
All right. Thank you all so much for being part of this 151 episode journey. Whether you've been here with us from the very beginning or you are with us today, we just want to say thank you very, very much. Now, you have no idea how much it means to us. We love you guys. We're so grateful for you, and we appreciate you being on this journey. And sometimes being on a journey means supporting the things you love. We do have a Patreon at patreon.com/chclassroom, where you can get special merch and other things for the classroom. As we've shared in previous episodes, our Patreon is revamped. We are spending a little bit more time with that and are making it kind of its own thing. So definitely want to check it out. We have multiple tiers and a free tier. So if you should want to come hang, come hang. Now, we understand that subscriptions are weird, that we are looking at gas prices, and I paid $5.49 for gas today in Indiana. So, like, what's happening? I don't know. So,
I would love those gas prices. I'm just going to say.
I moved here for a lower cost of living, Sabrina. I didn't move here for $5.49 gas. But if you do love our work and you want to always give a one-time donation, or you can give a one-time donation, we do have a Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com/chaotic-harmony. You can donate, and there you can give a shout out. You can do a special request for a spiccato, which I'm very excited to see what Sabrina and Hans are going to think about our spiccato this time. And then the last thing that you could do to support us is leave us a review, either on Spotify or Apple. It really helps the podcast. 5 stars, please. It's, I think, my first time solo hosting. So lots of comments, lots of 5 stars, and tell John that you should let Mark solo host more because he's good at it, or not. That's fine. You can find us on all the socials and on YouTube. Leave this episode a like, and all of these things ensure that the mics and lights stay on. Now to spiccato. That's our spiccato sound. Okay. Sabrina and Hans. As avid listeners of the show, you know spiccato is our section where we take these random objects and have to turn it into a lesson. Because you're administrators, you don't necessarily get to turn it into a lesson for children, but you get to turn it into professional development for your teachers. I will allow you to pick a certain group of teachers instead of like how you do this with all groups of teachers. So if you're like, oh, with my music teachers, I could do this, or with my art teachers, I could do this. So I'll give you that. Here's the object. Exercise resistance bands. What would you do for professional development with exercise resistant bands?
Resistance bands. Can you explain? Like, elaborate here.
Yeah. So these are like bands that you can, oh gosh, that's terrible. That you can like work out, and you typically, I think you step on them and like you can use them to get swole if you launch stuff with it. Yeah, it's just like rubbery elastic with handles.
Mm.
What would you do for a PD? And you could assume that you can have as many of these as you'd like for this PD. It's not like you have one.
Oh, I wonder if it could be like the theme of a PD in illustrating the push and pull of a system. I don't know if that makes sense, but I kind of want to go philosophical, and that we can illustrate what happens when different priorities pull us in different directions. And perhaps we can focus in on when we work together on a task, we can both achieve so much more. That's a universal K-12 education PD. You're welcome.
Done. That'll be on our Patreon.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think that's better than mine because I thought I thought of 2 things. One, just on the music side, we've got bands, and different tensions are going to produce different notes, and so could be a sampling thing where you sample different sounds and you're trying to build a melody together digitally with a MIDI controller. More PD stuff, I think. It's kind of on the same lines, but your theme was a lot better with a vision and everything. But you could have one person on each side, but it's all tangled, and you are working with other departments to find who your partner is at the end. But just something team building.
Nice. Those are both so good. I had no idea what I would do with them. And so I'm not going to play. No, I will play. No, actually, I won't because I have no idea.
Actually, if you don't mind, this reminds me of, don't give me this face, Mark. I don't know if you were at this ORF session, Mark, but Dr. David Frigo came in. Were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had one where he had a bunch of was it pantyhoses?
Yes.
And so everyone had to grab the pantyhoses to feel tension and release, whatnot. And then I remember one of our coworkers, Andrea Levis, says, "Oh, I know how you can get a box of pantyhoses for free." And so I had a box of pantyhoses ready to use in my class. My car got broken into, and they stole a couple things, but they also stole the bag of pantyhoses. It's like I don't know whatever came up with that, but
It's probably because they needed a mask for their next crime that they were
Their
going to
next
commit.
heist.
Yeah.
That's efficient.
Yes. I mean, like, hey, this is here. Let's do another one.
You
But-
just provided them the gold mine there.
they've had that stacked
Imagine
in
how
their
many
car for
people
the
lost
longest
their
time.
things because of you, John.
Wait,
He
wait
had
a
also
second.
printed out directions to the bank, and they took those too.
And the code and everything.
Oh, MapQuest.
Oh.
I miss a good MapQuest.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
still active. It's still active, apparently.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's one of the options. But yeah, the tension release thing I was thinking of, like that way you're playing this like great piece from, I don't know, Masan and like a string quartet. You have the pull and push and people pulling and pushing. So you could probably do the same thing with the resistance bands. Just my 2 cents. All right, I'll hide again.
You
I mean,
guys
also
are the
something-
best. Go.
There's got to be something we can launch too. Something I don't know, like the negative thoughts or the hard things about your week. You know, how do we write those down and just launch them somehow? I don't know.
Yes, that's
I
good.
like that. That actually, because then you could use it as like a slingshot for your problems.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know. Leave everything at the door, let your frustrations out, and then you can come grounded and centered for this next conversation.
Yes, I love it.
I love the metaphors.
Like write it out specifically and then
Yeah.
Oh, who knows? You could theorize.
yeah. Everyone go buy resistance bands. You guys, thank you so much and appreciate your time and you being here and breaking up the teacher talk to some administrator talk. Sabrina, if people wanted to find what you're doing up in your district or just drop a note or be like, "Hey, I heard you had a job. I want to work there." How would they reach out to you?
So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Yes, I know Facebook's old. And Threads. I am on Threads
You and
at She Has Skeels. So SHEHASSKEELS, which is a play on my last name. Don't do She's Got Skeels. That's my sister-in-law. So She Has Skeels. She's a graphic designer, very wonderful graphic designer, but we played on the phrases of our married names.
Love that. Hans, what about you?
You can find me at Hans Jazz. That's HANSJAZZ. If you want to email me, hansjazz@gmail.com or also Instagram. I'm Hans Jazz there too. So
Amazing. And you can find me on Instagram at Hey Marc, HEEEYMARC. And just come along for the journey, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And I think if there's anything that we learned is district people aren't the enemy. That's just what it is. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
thank you.
Also, why haven't you put bloopers at the end of our episodes? It makes me sad that they're gone.
You know how long our latest episodes have been?
This last one was 54 minutes.
That's true.
So
Oh,
there
wow.
was plenty of time for a blooper. And
No,
like a
that's true.
10-second something unhinged. Just saying. If there's not a blooper on this one, I'm quitting the team again.
Oh, again, for the fourth time.